What's up, everybody? Ghost Gamer here, and we are back in the CryEngine tutorials. Specifically, this one is kind of an addition to the terrain painting and texturing video. This is a few things that I kind of wanted to add on. However, the video itself was kind of lengthy. It was approaching my 20 minutes, so I had to kind of break it up a little bit. It's not so much advanced texturing. It kind of is, but it kind of isn't. It is more or less a few more things that I wanted to point out. Wanted to get you guys to understand and things of that nature. So what we'll do here is there's a couple. Let me get back in here. Layer painter. Now there's a few things that I'm going to kind of go over here, and hopefully it makes sense in the first go through. Now, as you can see here, I mean, it's pretty much a desolate wasteland of coldness, if you will. And one of the things that you have to understand here is you will end up having to layer, one layer on top of another layer on top of another layer, kind of like in Photoshop, to get essentially what you're looking for, or that feel that you're looking for. And it could be something as simple as, let me jump in, something as simple as this, where you're going from one texture to another, but you have this area of change. And if you look at the real world and you look at certain things like sand, whenever you transition from like a grass to a sand, or a sand to a dirt, or grass to dirt, you'll have this dead zone, or you have this median in between. There's a word that I'm looking for, but I can't think of it right now, where you're basically transitioning between the two, kind of like a gradient, but not so much. And there's a very simple way to do this, and it's just one of those things you got to constantly play with until you get it to look. Oh, there we go. Turn this back down to 0.1. There's a very simple, but I don't want to say time consuming, but it's one of those things that you will play with it until you get it to look the way you want. It's the easiest way I could try and put it. And without going through and creating any more new materials, we'll just kind of do that right now. And all I'm going to do with this is I'm going to take my layer called Snow Dirty, and I'm going to play with it just a little bit here. I'm going to drop the radius down to a fairly small radius in comparison to the actual resolution of the map. And I'm going to take my hardness down quite a bit. 0.01 should be good. And then all I'm going to do here is I'm just going to paint this in areas, and then follow through with something else here to kind of try and blend it in a little bit, but not overpower it. I mean, you're going to have a transition period where not really a transition period, but you're going to have that period where you basically just sit there and play with it and mess with it as much as you can to get it where you want it. At least look like you want it. And this all comes down to how much. I guess it's one of those things where it's like, oh, how much time and effort do you want to put into it? That's all up to you. Once you've messed with your transitions and whatnot, there's another thing that you can get into, which I think it's heavy. Jack up my speed a little bit here. And one of those things is kind of Yeah, it should be, we'll go a little bit bigger, is the slope. These two numbers right here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this to 45 and 90, and I'm going to start painting. Now, as you'll, well, maybe you could see, I hope you could see this on screen. Let me try and bring this in a little bit more. Now, with this little demonstration, if you will, you could see where it's painting in some areas, but it's not painting in another. Well, basically what it's doing is it's saying, okay, well, between, anything that's got a slope or an angle of 45 to 90, we're going to paint, this texture. But it's not going to do anything other than that. If that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Because this is real simple, real easy, real convenient, if you will, in order to give, the terrain a little bit of variance. Give it some, change it up, give it something new, give it something that, well, not new, but something different, something random, if you will. I mean, you could change those settings as much as you want and then just sit there and play with them and get something that appeals to you. And it's one of those things that it's kind of like, oh crap, I'll change that back to white. It's kind of one of those things that you can play with it as much as you want. It's just like Photoshop. It all comes down to how much detail, how much work you want to put into it to make it look like what you want. And that is the biggest thing that I got to say with it. I mean, this thing is, it's just like some of the other programs that I've went with and played with, where it all depends on how much you put into it. And I hate hearing people say that, but it is the truth. I mean, it's one of those things where if you don't put a lot into it, you're not going to get a lot out of it. And it is what it is. So play with it. See what you can basically get to come out of it. And what may seem like something random might actually come into something that you want to see. Another thing that you could do is, let me pull this over here. Materials, terrain. Another thing you could do is you can make duplicates of existing terrain. So like the snow terrain. Snow terrain, snow dirty. Where's my... I'll just use a snow dirty. And I'll duplicate it. And I'll rename it 50p. And the only difference between snow dirty and snow dirty 50p is going to be my opacity. And I'm just going to mess with that a little bit. Let's see. Yeah, I'll give it a little rotation to it as well. But I'm going to dial the opacity back, probably about 50%. And, oh, damn it, I did not want to do that. There we go. I'll bring this back over. So, which one was I working on? Snow Dirty. So I'm just going to add a new layer. It's going to be my Snow Dirty 50p. I'm going to assign that material. Change my layer texture here. Or it's basically I guess, mirror image of the Snow Dirty, but with a different opacity on it. That's all it is. And you could use that to your discretion. You know, maybe you want to go through and change it up just a little bit more or a little bit less, and so on and so forth. But that is entirely up to you. That is your call. I mean, after, you know, either way you cut it, it's going to be your game. It's going to be your level. So you basically do what you want. Play with the settings as much as you want. And another thing you could do is you can actually come in and change up some of the color here. So I have a rock texture that I just added in, and it's set up for 60 to 90 degree slope, which is rather limited, but maybe too limited. Let me back off here. Let's see if I got any other. Extremely limited. Maybe I should turn that down a little bit. I think I will. So I'll change that from 60 to we'll try 50. Yeah, 50 seems to work a little bit better. But now, not only do you have the ability to leave it basically what it is whenever you imported it from one item to another, how would I put that? If you downloaded it off the internet or if you created it in Photoshop yourself, however you want to call that, you can actually change up some of the color to it to give it a little bit more of an effect. Give it some color. Now I'm just doing this sporadically, but let me go with something extreme, that way you can see what I'm talking about here. Now, something that would typically, be very subtle is I'm doing it rather drastically so you can understand where I'm coming with this. And, you can change up this color to whatever you want and add it in while you're painting it. So even if, say for the sake of argument, you have something that seems like it's rather dull in the color, if you want to play with that, you can actually do all that in here, and you can jack up your brightness, go with something extreme, or you can take that down real low, make it very subtle. Again, entirely up to you, what you're going for, what you're looking for, so on and so forth. But it's just something to keep in mind while you're doing this. I'm going to cut this video short, and that way we can move on to some other stuff. But if you have any questions, concerns, comments, feel free to drop them in the comment box below. Next on the list, I believe, is lighting. So I hope you guys come back for that video. Again, as always, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. And thank you for watching. Until next time, I'm Ghost Gamer, and I'm out of here. Hope to see you guys for the next video.